Welcome to this short series of movies. These are here to supplement the information you have already been given. These videos have been directed, produced, scripted and financed by Ghost Dancer Productions. Sit back and enjoy. Hi and welcome to the movie for the second piece of assessment. This assignment only applies to students reading for a degree in straight psychology. This assignment requires you to work in teams of no more than 5 students and no less than 3. Please don't ask if you can have 6 or more in your group, and likewise please don't ask to work in pairs. This is group work, not pairs or crowd work. Effectively, you are being asked to turn a paper into a poster. A paper is a journal article. And a journal article is a piece of research that has been published in a peer-reviewed journal. Within Blackboard you will find a link to Assessment 2. Within that you'll find examples of posters. It is best to use a journal article that you may have come across before. For example, an article that you used for your essay for Module PSY 1101, or a lab report from Module PSY 1104. But please don't feel restricted. If your group decides to use a journal article that none of you have used before, that's fine. Just make sure that every member of the group agrees. The choice of article is vital. You need to find one in which a piece of psychological research has been conducted. This sounds easy, and in many ways it should be. But there are some pitfalls you need to look out for. For example, your piece of research needs to have been conducted using psychological methods. Knowing psychological methodologies is something we will teach you. One almost surefire way is to look for journals with psychology in their title, for example, Psychology and Health, or Journal of Experimental Psychology, or the Journal of Educational Psychology. You should really also make sure that the journal conforms to APA standards. Look for the APA logo or American Psychological Association header on the article. If ever you are in doubt about whether the journal conforms to APA standards, consult a member of staff. It is imperative that you show a member of staff your paper before continuing to turn it into a poster. So once you have your paper and you know that it conforms to APA standards and it is looking at an issue within psychology, what you need to do now is summarize the paper so that it will fit onto a poster. Posters are generally size A0. And they have a very distinct look. Your poster typically has 7 elements: the title, the abstract, the introduction, method, results, discussion, and lastly the references. Let's start with the title. The title is precisely the same as that used on the paper, so that doesn't change. The abstract is not to be copied from the paper. What you were being asked to do is summarize the paper in your own words to form the abstract. An abstract effectively summarizes, in about 150 to 200 words, everything that happened in the research. So the abstract contains a sentence or two about the historical context of the research. You should outline the methodology, that is, whether it was interviews or a questionnaire, etc. You should outline how the research was conducted, also why the research was done, and in a very concise fashion what was found. This is the abstract. The next section is the introduction. What you need to do here is, in your own words, summarize what has been outlined in the introduction of the paper. It is critical that you do not copy any of the text, but instead you summarize in your own words what has been written. Often you will come across references to other research. It may be necessary to find this other research in order to summarize the introduction correctly and concisely. The next section is the method section. You summarize how the research has been conducted. This is possibly one of the hardest sections to concisely write in your own words. However, it is imperative that you do so. The results section is something that you would need to spend quite a bit of time working out precisely what has been done. You most probably will have to go to textbooks in order to understand how and why the analysis has been done. Remember, you are just writing what was found rather than how it was done. You need to take into consideration when choosing which paper to turn into a poster, whether you understand the results and analysis. It is no good being able to summarize the introduction and the discussion if you find it impossible to summarize the results and analysis. Next comes the discussion. You need to summarize in your own words, and remember that you are not to copy any text, word for word, the full discussion. This is possibly one of the hardest sections to summarize concisely. What you need to do is look for the salient pieces of information and present them in your own words. The last section is the reference list. Any extra books or journals that you have used and referenced within the text should be outlined and listed in this section. If you have read and then referenced any of the papers mentioned in your article, then you are to list those here also. You are not to reference any papers or books that you have not personally read. And when we say personally read, we mean the entire journal article or book chapter, not just the abstract. Let's summarize each section. The title conveys the nature of the research. The abstract gives a precise overview of the research plus the methodology and findings. The introduction gives a brief overview of the background to the research. The method section is a brief overview of the methods, in other words, how did you conduct the research? The results section gives a brief overview of how you analyze your data. The discussion section gives a precise picture of what you found. And finally, the reference section gives a complete list of all sources you have read and cited. Most posters are only about 800 words in length, and some are considerably shorter. A poster should be readable from about 1 meter and attract interest from about 5 meters away. For clarity, use sans serif font, like Arial or Helvetica. The main title should be around 70 to 100 point. Subheadings around 40 points. And the body of the text around 24 points. So how do you produce your poster? There are several ways for you to do this. The simplest way is for you to use 12 sheets of A4 paper, knitted together. There's also the facility to print your poster onto a large A0 piece of paper. This will cost you around £20. We are not expecting you to get your poster printed in this fashion, and it will not gain you any extra marks should you do so. It just looks nicer. Just a couple of extra final points. Allow plenty of time to prepare and produce your poster. You will also be expected to talk the examiners through the contents of your poster as a group. So each member of the group should be prepared to answer any questions that they are asked. One last thing. If you are in any doubt about any aspect of this assessment, please ask a member of staff for clarification. Do not wait until the day of the presentation to ask questions. One last thing. Group work can at times be extremely rewarding if all team members work together. However, if you do not work together, then it can be very frustrating. It is up to you to negotiate when you meet, what is done and when. If a team member does not appear to be contributing an equal amount, it is up to you, as a group, to negotiate with that person or persons. We will, however, not tolerate bullying of any sort. If your team is not working together, and you have tried to negotiate within your team and this has not worked, then seek out a member of staff, and we will try our best to resolve any issues. I've been Dr. Stephanie Tudor. Please remember, this information is here to supplement the material found on Blackboard. This was a Ghost Dancer production. Goodbye for now.